What's going on, everybody? Rogue Hero here, and in today's episode, I'm going to be talking about 5 reasons you guys should be playing your Yu-Gi-Oh! Locals. Now, the reason why I wanted to make this video and why this video is very important is because I know there's a lot of players nowadays. I don't know what it is about the Yu-Gi-Oh! Season. Maybe it's because of the off season, but a lot of players do not like to play in locals anymore due to advents of YGO Pro, Dueling Book, and just going to a friend's house. And I think that's the wrong way to go about things, and I'm going to explain that in today's video. So with all that being said, let's get into it. Without further ado, let's begin.
Ice on my wrist, looking kinda cool. Bad bitch with me, she ain't tryna move. Niggas staring at me, what you tryna do? Got me looking at my watch, and it's time to do.
So starting off my 5th thing, I'm going to shoot straight into the video and say veteran players. I don't know what it is with the new school generation that everyone's so introverted in a sense. Like, people don't like to come out the house. They have to keep to themselves. Their phone is always in their hand. Hell, my phone is always in my hand. But I still try to make eye contact somewhat to people in my real life and people in the real world in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Scene and outside of Yu-Gi-Oh! And by not going to locals and avoiding sociality, being social in a sense, you're gonna miss out on interacting with some cool veteran players. For example, I first started playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Since I was 12 years old, and at that time there wasn't veteran players set in stone. However, there are people who are already playing other card games like Pokemon and Magic the Gathering, which could put their knowledge onto Yu-Gi-Oh!, which I could learn from. One dude, local in particular, old Yu-Gi-Oh! Locals called Windy City Comics, named Freddie. Back in the day, very knowledgeable player, kind of a stoner in a sense, but he pretty much knew what he was doing for the time being. I wonder if that dude was still around. Shout out to Freddie, who, if you are watching this video, probably highly doubt it, because I remember he eventually started playing Pokemon. But that's neither here nor there. I learned a lot of things from knowledgeable players, and then as my Yu-Gi-Oh! Years went on, and some of the first Yu-Gi-Oh! Teams started getting started, I met with a lot of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Pros in Chicago. Not met with them specifically, but played against them at the locals and picked up play styles and skills that I would not have picked up from being at home. Now, granted, this was 16, 15 years ago. I didn't have things like Dueling Book and YGO Pro like you lucky guys have nowadays. But even fast forward to now, a lot of those players are still playing. And a lot of players who are on the same caliber of your Patrick Hobans, Jeff Jones, Billy Breaks, either can't afford to go to major events or don't want to because they're in my age range of 29 to 30 to 31 and up. They don't have time to go to big events. They have careers, they have lives outside of Yu-Gi-Oh! But they still like to enjoy some local playing. And a lot of them are pretty good, which is why you see a lot of players come out of nowhere, like Philly Luna, for example. They go to like the PPG events and do well because they still play in their local area. They just don't go to major events, and they leave that for like new up and coming people. So, I think honestly, just by playing with these veteran players, you guys can learn a lot from them, and you're only going to get the veteran players, the locals. At a certain point in my Yu-Gi-Oh! Career, I consider myself a veteran player. I consider myself a good player. I'm not gonna travel to big events as much. I only go to regionals now, but at a certain point, I'm not gonna travel at all and keep it locally for the time being. And a player like me can offer a lot of up-and-coming players knowledge, and vice versa. Number 4, the random decks that you can interact with at locals. Now, locals, it's a show. It's a show. You get your good, you get your bad. But one of the things I love about locals in particular is the random decks you can play against. Now, granted, if you're prepping for a major event like a regionals or a YCS, you may not always run into that deck. But if you do, you can get blindsided. But that's where locals come into place, because when you're at locals and you're playing against these random decks, like let's say, like for example, Machina, a popular deck from back in the day, and let's say for example now, if somebody plays you at locals with full World Chalice, not the Crusadia Guard Dragon crap, but just full Link Spam World Chalice that can do some pretty cool plays and beat you with it, Now, you might not remember what every card does, but you gain that experience and that knowledge about how the deck functions. A great example for myself, that is, I play at locals consistently against a lot of pretty good players who travel way more than I do. And by me playing them at locals, whether they're admitted or not saying that they learned a lot from me, but by them seeing a hero deck, a hero player week after week after week, they got familiar with the archetype. So when they go to a big event, and even though my build may be better and or worse than someone who they may play at the event, they still have the opportunity. Okay, this deck functions off of Dark Law. Let me capitalize on XYZ play. So I think a lot of the times in locals playing these random decks can be very beneficial. I personally don't like to play against them all the time. Like I said, sometimes they don't help you out at big events, but they do get you prepared for the meta and overall tech cards. Heck, I've even seen people steal ideas from these random decks to help build their own meta decks. So, just go to locals. Doing for the random deck thing is a pretty good job. So, man, just check it out and keep an open mind when you play against these rogue decks and don't take them for granted. Number 3, the social interaction you get at locals. Now, like I said earlier in the video, people nowadays don't like to go outside. They rather stay in the house and play video games and do things online. But social interactions for human beings is so important to our everyday lives. For one, it brings down depression. That's a proven scientific fact. Humans in general are not supposed to just be closed in all the time. It's the reason why if somebody gets locked up and go to jail, if they get put in a hole, that can mentally break them and mess with them. So let's put this back into real life now. Like, yeah, some people may go to regionals on YCS and they say they don't go to locals. That's cool, they're still getting some social interaction because they are going to regionals on YCS. But dog, have y'all played against some of these people at these events? Some of these people you could tell don't see the light of day. I'm not saying that they dressed wrong, but their social skills suck. And maybe it's just because I come from a different era. Like I said, I'm not the oldest guy in the room when I go to every Yu-Gi-Oh event, but I'm damn sure not the youngest. And that speaks volumes on how people who are a little older are just most sociable and vice versa. Heck, my older brother, who's 5 years older than me, his generation socialized way more than my generation. So you got the generational gap. But the benefit of, just socializing in general with getting that social interaction is it relaxes the soul. Like me personally, Yu-Gi-Oh is an antidepressant. Like I have a lot of stressors in my life that when I go to Yu-Gi-Oh, even if I go to locals and scrub and get mad and lose, that relief of just interacting with people helps me out a lot from my stressful life of just going to work and going to the gym and going home. It's good to get out the house, not saying that you're gonna meet a girl at locals or a guy at locals if you're a girl or somebody who's a little homosexual. It's a good way to possibly find a mate. I know people who've met mates at locals. I know a couple at locals in particular who got married and they met at the car shop. So, things happen like that. So, getting that good social interaction is good for the soul. And I'm always gonna preach that about one of the reasons why I personally like to go to locals. Even if I don't play, but just stopping there, being social is just pretty cool. Number 2, competitiveness. Now, rewinding back to the veteran player thing, I think everything kind of goes back to the veteran player thing. You got to prep for big events, and there's nothing wrong with doing online prepping, being like over the computer, and it's like a simulator pretty much. You know what the cards are doing. But me personally, I'm a hands-on person. No matter how many times I can touch the screen and get the interactions to do what I want it to do, it's just something about playing the cards, holding them physically in your hands and playing them on that board. It helps you not misplay. Reason being, muscle memory. Your muscles, you're doing these interactions, they're interacting with your brain, and it helps you play the deck better. Now granted, of course, like I said, you can do this online. There's nothing wrong with doing this online. But like I said, in my opinion, at least for me, maybe I'm a little slow, I don't know. I learn better when I touch and feel the cards. So it helps my competitiveness in the long run. And then not to mention, going back to the veteran player thing, there's a lot of new school players who are really knowledgeable and good at the game. So playing against the players and interacting with them in person, like you would have to do at a big event like our regionals and a YCS, is going to help you tenfold. So honestly, like I said, go to locals. It can help you in the long run. Now, like I said, I've met good players. I'm not going to drop names, but I met some good players who just don't like to go to locals. And, while they are good players, I still believe they are missing out, even if they have a good playtesting circle, because You can never know who's at that locals who just may be better than you, but just don't have the money to travel. So, I mean, trust me, I've been doing this for a long time. Trust me, like, you guys just gotta take my word for this one. Like, you can prep for big events really good at locals. I've done it. I mean, I haven't done it in a while, but I've done it and it works. And the last thing we'll talk about, 5 reasons of going to locals and why I like going to locals, is simply networking. This all comes back to tenfold to just being a natural human being. Locals, I've made friends at locals, lifelong associates at locals, and just good overall people at locals. And some people who probably I would never have interacted with at locals. I've met people who've come from very rich families. I've met people who, if I probably needed a job, they can help me with a job. And I've met people who, honestly, I've made lifelong friendships with. And I think the fact that you can network with people and make bonds with people is one of the best things I love about locals, bro. I fucking love that shit. And it's something that's gonna stay with me to the day I die. And I'm pretty sure it's gonna be something that's gonna stay with you guys as well. And then other than that, man, the solid play testing you can get from having a camaraderie, I don't even think I pronounced that right. Camaraderie from hanging out with people and getting that good play testing in. And then also for you people who want to travel who are a little poorer, you can find people who go on trips with. I mean, I know people all the time who just met at locals. They click like that from networking. Next thing you know, they go on a vacation with each other to a trip. And by going on that trip, you can network with different people from different communities. So, like I said, man, Yu-Gi-Oh! Locals is something that's a little underappreciated in my opinion. There are a lot of locals that still fire a lot. But at the same time, I feel like there's a lot of players who take locals for granted. So, I'm going to end y'all with that. Tell me what you guys think about this discussion video in the comment section down below. Like the video if you're new here and subscribe for more. I'm uploading every Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And I do have a new clothing line on Teespring. Check it out. It's the Rogue Hero picture of me looking all cool and stuff. So with all that being said, once again, this is Rogue Hero, and I'm signing out. Peace and stay innovative. Deuces.